Hello, everybody. I'm Jesse Waters, along with Kimberly Guilfoyle, Juan Williams, Dana Perino, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. Liberals still expressing their rage that Hillary Clinton didn't win the election. Some of them screamed at the sky last night on the first anniversary of her loss. I was actually at one of those spectacles. I forgot to bring earplugs. But we're going to have much more to show you of that in a moment. But you know where Hillary is today? In Wisconsin, about to lament her crushing defeat in the state she never stepped foot in once during the campaign. Last night, the failed presidential candidate broke her silence on Donna Brazil's allegation she rigged the race against Bernie and had too much influence on the DNC. She took a dig at her party's former chair.
I didn't know what she was referring to because, as has now come out, that just wasn't the case. But the current DNC leadership really invested heavily in Virginia and New Jersey and other places. And I called the current chairman, Tom Perez, to congratulate him because he didn't get knocked off course. He didn't get overwhelmed by other narratives and stories coming at him.
Brazil had some words of her own for the Clinton team last night. Tucker asked her about what she wrote about campaign manager Robbie Mook.
You said, I'm quoting, "I've worked with men all my life in politics, and I can sense when they get to this part about not being able to deal with a woman. It was not a racial thing, it was a gender thing. Every time you mention that they're trying to shut you down because you're a woman, all these guys are like, no, 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 no." They do sexism, too, apparently, from your book. Which is a little weird since Hillary ran a whole campaign on breaking the glass ceiling, and here's the guy running her campaign diminishing you because of your sex. It seems ironic, maybe.
You know, it was dismissive. I don't, condescending and dismissive, those are the words I characterize in the book.
Are you enjoying watching this, Kimberly Guilfoyle?
Yeah, actually, I find it politically fascinating. I do. And I love that she's out there telling the truth. A lot of people, as we know, are very intimidated by the Clinton machine and their, political operation that has been threatening and intimidating to so many for so many years, to the point where they went ahead and said, okay, we're going to put her forward when you had really great candidates as well, like Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders going forward, because she felt it was her time and it was owed to her. And okay, she had her chance, so now it's time to move on and let the party grow and express. And the only way they can kind of do that is they actually are honest about what transpired, what happened. And Donna Brazil is trying to do her level best to put that forward, and probably against incredible odds in the aftermath of trying to tell the truth.
Are you on Team Donna or Team Hillary, Juan?
I don't see a need to divide them. I like them both, but I must say, I just feel like...
answer, Juan. Pick a side.
Well, no, because I think last night's scream, I feel like the 2016 election, it never stops. It just goes on and on and on. Yeah. And we're still arguing, for the Republicans, still demonizing Hillary as if she... I mean, I think Sean Hannity said the other day she was president. He didn't even realize she's not president.
Slip of the tongue, Juan. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
But I'm just saying, it just goes on and on with this. And now it's got to be, I think Donna Brazil has a legitimate thing about being condescending to, not being taken seriously by Hillary's team after she stepped in to save them in terms of the DNC.
That's true.
And guess what? There's a contrary argument to what Donna says, because Hillary Clinton literally financially bailed out the DNC. The same deal had been offered to Bernie Sanders. She took it, and in exchange, she started calling the tune about who they hire and what they had to say, and then Donna says, well, so it seems like it tilted things. Now, Donna's gone back on the rigging claim, if you notice. Yeah. So, but to me, it's like this feeds, I think, the Republican narrative that, there's such dissension among Democrats, when in fact, the big split that we know of, especially tonight, is among Republicans after what happened on Tuesday.
And we will definitely get to that later in the show, Juan. What do you think about the allegation of sexism and racism coming from Donna Brazil? You had Jen Palmieri at the top of the campaign, Huma Abedin. Does that strike you as kind of off?
Well, no, I trust women when they know it when they see it or they hear it.
Right.
And Donna Brazil is not somebody that throws around allegations like that. And look, she did a lot. She was her first African-American woman, or maybe even the first woman to run a presidential campaign when she was the campaign chairwoman for Al Gore.
Yep.
And look, this is amazing to me about Democrats. This is a person who has dedicated her entire life to Democratic activist politics. When she took over for Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who was disgraced and had to step down, she took a leave of absence from ABC and CNN. She did not take a salary from the DNC. And allegations that she's, just trying to make money and cashing in by selling a book, that really makes me mad. Because if we know anything about who was actually trying to cash in, it wasn't Donna Brazile.
No, she gave up a lot of money from those.
And I admire her for getting out there. I do think it's not easy when there's like shades of gray, like rigging or not rigging. Like that probably should be a little bit more solid. But I feel like she looks liberated. And also, she has said that I worked hard to get Hillary Clinton elected. I'm excited about the Democrats going forward. But she wanted to tell her story. And when it comes to sexism, I imagine that if you're on the other end of the phone, you're in Washington, D.C., and you're getting a call from Brooklyn telling you that you know better in Brooklyn what's going on in the country than Donna Brazile, who spent her entire life on the front lines for the Democrats, it probably is pretty annoying.
Perhaps it
and
is
she's tough.
sexist.
I mean,
It's hard
she's
to tell.
strong, she's tough, she's been around, and so when she's saying
not a
that,
victim.
believe me, she's not.
No, she's not a victim.
she has
I've had
no
my
time for
run-ins
the
with Donna
nonsense.
Brazile, and she's intense. She gets
she
her
take
message
you out?
across.
Yeah, I love it.
Did she call you honey?
No, I wish she did. I
I think
find
she
that
told
flattering.
him, bless your heart, Jesse.
I think she did. I think that was meant as a put down. I want to get Greg's take on all of this, including this, when she answered whether or not she gave a question to Hillary. Roll it.
What I sought to do, Tucker, was to ensure that we had these issues on the table, and I made sure that our candidates, I didn't want them blindsided. That's what I admitted to. That's what look, what WikiLeaks put out.
That's the greatest spin I've ever heard. I didn't want them blindsided.
Hey.
That's so good. You should do this for a living. That is hilarious.
She fed Hillary a debate question, and that was the excuse.
Yeah, that was a terrible answer. I know we all love Donna now because Donna's going after Hillary, but she's got to think about a better answer for that question because it is a definite flaw. I mean, she's accusing people of rigging an election. That's a rigging right there. The only way to settle this between Hillary and Donna is in the octagon. I think Hill versus Brazile, cage match, each armed with a book. Only one leaves alive. You know, the thing is, Juan, you said that we're all demonizing Hillary. You can't demonize Satan.
Oh,
and
well, I think the fight's over before it began.
the winner in all of this is Bill, because at least Hillary is yelling at somebody else, so he can relax. She's tangling with Brazile. He's tangling with the brazier.
It sounds like South Park. Didn't South Park put Jesus versus the devil in the octagon?
Yeah, I was exaggerating. You know what? She learned a lesson. Next time, coincide your book tour with a political campaign, because then there'll be a financial incentive to go to Wisconsin.
Could be.
Aha. That's
But
what
I
you're
will
saying.
say
She's working
this.
harder at this at the campaign.
I will say this in response to what Dana said, that I think that what Donna did, in conjunction with, we'll talk about later, the new Biden book, I think lots of people are taking on what was the Clinton machine, which dominated the Democratic Party
Sputtering to a halt
since was it 92?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's over.
Too.
Let's go to some screaming from some of Juan's friends. I visited them last night in Washington Square Park.
Happy to see you.
Do you think screaming into the sky makes your side look good?
Screaming into the sky makes our side look fun.
Fun.
Yeah. it's
Funny.
fun.
How do you feel now? You feel better? Somewhat. You want a pacifier?
I'll go yourself.
Did they knew you were from Fox?
No. I introduced myself, and
As
most
what?
of them ran in the opposite direction.
How many were there?
Only about 30, Gutfeld. There was more media than there were screamers.
I was going to say each screamer probably had their own reporter.
That's true.
But I think that that's a bad sign for Republicans, because the best argument for Trump are the hysterical anti-Trump reactions. And if that's going away and everybody starts getting back to normal, you don't have that villain anymore.
Oh, no, we're keeping it alive, Gutfeld. We are definitely keeping it alive. Juan, would you like to defend Democrats on the Screamfest?
I thought she was a wonderful screamer.
That was an amazing
That was a
scream.
great scream. I asked you, was she a professional
She could do
singer?
horror movies.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Well, I found the whole thing embarrassing, and
Because
I'm
you were
embarrassed
there?
for myself.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because you had to show up and cover it.
I don't think that was very cathartic for them. I think it was just too theatrical, and first of all, some of the screaming wasn't very good and
No,
wasn't
it was a
done
little
properly.
off
Did it
key.
look like they were having a little bit of fun, though?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it
drum,
was,
right?
as Kimberly would say, a cathartic experience.
Yeah.
And
There just wasn't very many of them. I sent you the
No.
article about Philly. Like 6 people showed up.
yeah, there was 3 people in Philadelphia. So the resistance is strong, everybody. The resistance is strong. Coming up, can Republicans get tax reform passed? New developments today on their big push next.
After a bleak election day Tuesday for Republicans, the GOP now moving full speed ahead on tax reform. The idea? They don't want to face an even worse prospect, big losses in the midterms come 2018. The Senate unveiled its version of the overhaul this afternoon, with billions of tax cuts for corporations and some for Americans. The House measure was approved earlier by the Ways and Means Committee after some last-minute changes. Now, can Republicans finally deliver on President Trump's agenda? Kimberly?
I think it's going to be very difficult because now you see the party becoming even more fractured on this issue, where they're not able to get consistent bandwidth and support across all areas and sort of factions of the party. And it's disappointing because we were all thinking that this was going to be a big win for them, that this was a consensus building piece of legislation, a platform that they could put forward to ride into the next elections to say, okay, we actually got something done. We're here about the nuts and bolts. We were the party that was going to be about limited government and putting more money in the pockets of the hardworking, everyday men and women in this country that have been forgotten and left behind. And everyone was like, wait a second, what happened? And then you see they're carving back away. We're going to take a step back on the corporate stuff. So when you look at it, what's kind of left of this carcass? And nobody's very happy with it. This is leftovers for no one, which is disappointing in my house.
Greg, let me, Greg,
Make
let
a
me just tell
quesadilla
you.
pizza.
I'm sorry.
Yummy.
Greg, I was going to mention to you, so President Trump called in from Asia to a group of Democrats and said,
I know.
oh, you're going to like the Senate bill. Don't worry so much about the House bill. And I'm thinking, well, gee, if I'm a House Republican, I put myself on the line. What am I to think
The
here?
only positive thing I can say is that this is a work in progress.
Yes.
But the reality scares me, and this is why. The Democrats will never approve a bill that cuts spending or shrinks government. That'll never happen. So they're never going to approve a bill that actually cuts taxes. Why is that scary? Well, if Donald Trump is adamant about getting a deal done, then that deal is going to make Democrats happy. And I don't like being in a position where, I'm expected to help secure Donald Trump a victory if it goes against my principles. I'm a 2T
Strange
guy.
bedfellows.
I'm a 2T guy. Terror and taxes.
So you're going to say Waters.
Yeah. You're always thinking about yourself.
Right.
But it's all I got. But it's
Is it
all I
shocking?
got. It's all I got is I got, these are the 2 big things for me. Strong on terror, strong on taxes.
Me too.
I can't move on that. This is all I have left.
TNT and
TNT.
dynamite.
That's it. All right. So now we're going to play a game, America. And in this game, Jesse Waters is going to be the House and Dana Perino will be the Senate. So in the okay, you ready, guys? You ready? You ready? Here we go. In the House bill, all state and local tax deductions gone. What do you think, Dana?
I think in the Senate, for as hard as that's going to be for many Republicans in high-tax states, California, New England, New Jersey, in the Senate, there are not many Republican senators in high-tax states. So they don't care. And from a policy perspective, it matters more to them that they don't think those deductions should be there at all. So I think that if you're worried about that, I think the Senate's not going to do anything.
Okay, Jesse, as the House, in the Senate version, the mortgage interest deduction, it's good. It stays in. So the housing industry should be pleased.
Yeah, great for the housing industry, great for me.
Jeez, what's that?
It's great for people in places like New York and California, but if they're going to get rid of the state and local deductions, that doesn't really balance out.
Yeah.
Because your state and local are much higher than your mortgage to tax deduction. Now, and then they're phasing in the corporate tax cuts?
Yes, that's what I was saying.
That's not stimulating anything.
But you know what I was going to ask you, because I saw that the top bracket, the Senate keeps 7 tax brackets.
Yeah, another.
Right. Instead of the House has 4.
So they're not actually simplifying the tax code.
I remember the other day you went ballistic.
Oh, those senators.
The senators over there.
I blame Perino and the Senate.
You went ballistic the other day when you were talking about the upper bracket. I said they went from 39 just to 38% in the Senate bill.
Massive Reagan-esque tax relief.
But there's a good reason for this,
Okay.
and that is because what you were talking about, it's not just that the Democrats don't want to cut spending, it's that the president doesn't really want to either. Where you can actually get spending reform would be on entitlements, and the president's out on the campaign trail is very adamant, I'm not going to do it. Mick Mulvaney has said, I tried to convince the president it's necessary. He said no, so that's why they're actually trying to fit it all into this box. And I don't think it's just about winning elections for the midterms or just supporting the president's goal. I think that on the merits, tax reform makes a lot of sense. There are some really good things in here.
Yeah.
And actually, Larry Lindsay, who's an economic tax cut expert.
Oh, Larry.
You know Larry.
Yeah, Larry.
He says that the phase-in on the corporate tax rate really wouldn't have that big of an impact. He said that because if corporations know that it's coming, they'll be able to work
But
it
they
in.
might go
But it's
away.
not the
But
simple
Wall Street
flat
didn't
fare
like it
system.
today, if you look at the Dow. And you have also, I mean, like you said, tax cuts is like pizza. Even if it's bad, it's still good. People
didn't
are
say that.
keeping, you said the bill is okay. You know,
I thought you meant
tax
about
relief is
pizza.
still okay. But
Yeah,
my
that's
point
what
is that there are some
Perinoism.
good things in there.
Well, there are
but
a
it's
lot
like,
of people who will end up paying more. But what they're saying is
like
that that's
you
rich
and
people.
you and you and you.
What about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, me probably. I'm not as rich
Hopefully.
as you guys.
Well,
Yet.
So here,
Juan.
Yes, I know. it
Yeah,
was
Juan's,
me.
yeah.
Let me just
Juan's
say this to you,
crushing
Kimberly.
it.
Yeah.
So in the Senate bill, you can deduct medical expenses, which is a big concern for seniors.
Yeah.
But still, out of there are things like teachers and school supplies, moving expense. A lot of the expenses, things that people previously deducted, gone. So it would seem to offset any potential deduct. You're shaking your head.
I'm kind of
frustrated,
dismayed
too.
because I feel like we've been saying forever that you get a once-in-a-generation opportunity to reform taxes. And Republicans, conservatives, for years, decades, have been saying you want a simpler, flatter, fairer system. And it just feels to me like maybe that's like kind of maybe halfway splitting the baby, maybe, but not really. And then they got to do all this deal making. To me, maybe it will stimulate the economy. But I wish that they would have just been able to do the right thing economically, even though it would have been hard politically, and that is do the corporate tax rate cut and then figure out the individual stuff later, because
putting
this
it
is a
together,
mess.
It's like taking half of a donkey and half of an elephant and then going like this.
Mushing it.
Yeah.
And you got a donkey.
Yes.
Literally.
Yeah,
Doesn't work.
Maybe
Okay,
we gotta go
interrupted
back
you.
to like Herman Cain. I like
That was simple.
And boy, he can make some pizza too, so I'm for that.
Where is he now?
Food court.
Yeah, food court. Oh my
He's
God.
on Fox Business
food
right now.
court meets tax cuts. Exactly. He's going to walk through that door any second. But also, then you hear so many people still talk about, and economists talk about the flat tax, some that support the fair tax. But now this, I don't even know what happened. Like some kind of creature monster walked through the door. It's not what we were anticipating, and this was supposed to be their strong suit.
Okay, so quick bet, because we got to go. Does it pass?
I'm not feeling it tonight.
Okay, Jesse?
Yeah, I think it's going to pass.
Look at him, he's dejected.
Something
I don't like it.
will pass.
Gregory?
All things pass.
You hope.
Yes. I'm hoping right now it will pass.
Hey,
With
boy.
you more quickly
This
than others.
doesn't-
Commercial.
This is not a happy group
Accurate.
of Republicans. Ahead, some stunning accusations against the Republican Senate nominee in Alabama. Breaking news next.
Now to a bombshell that could impact next month's special election for Jeff Sessions' old Senate seat in Alabama. Some very serious new allegations against Republican nominee Roy Moore. Details now from Peter Ducey, who's live in Washington. Peter?
Kimberly, a 53-year-old woman claims that when she was 14 and Roy Moore was just 32, he's 70 now, long before he became famous for getting kicked off the Alabama Supreme Court for leaving a Ten Commandments statue up, Moore kissed her, he touched her, he stripped down, he tried to get her to touch him in a sexual way, and she says she didn't want it. But tonight, Moore is not admitting to anything. He's calling this fake news, and part of an emailed statement from the campaign says this: Judge Roy Moore has endured the most outlandish attack on any candidate in the modern political arena, but this story in today's Washington Post alleging sexual impropriety takes the cake. National liberal organizations know their chosen candidate, Doug Jones, is in a death spiral, and this is their last-ditch Hail Mary. The Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who Moore basically ran against in his primary, just said this: if these allegations are true, he must step aside. But not all Republicans have the patience to wait to see how this pans out. Senator John McCain says this about Moore, quote, he should immediately step aside and allow the people of Alabama to elect a candidate they can be proud of. But even if Moore does step aside, his name is still going to be on the ballot in December because we're within 76 days and the law says the ballots can't be reprinted this late. Alabama also has something called a sore loser law, which means that since Luther Strange already lost this year, he can't run on the ballot as an independent, but he could stage a write-in campaign. Tonight, Strange hasn't said anything about a write-in campaign. All he said is that the details he knows are very disturbing. Kimberly?
All right, Peter, thank you for that report. So, Dana, it's quite a development in a race that was heated to begin with, that was a little bit fractured in terms of, Republican support, with the president supporting Strange and a bunch of other Republicans, populists and Banner and whatnot, supporting Roy Moore. This is a guy who's not gone out, without a fight before. When they wanted to remove him, he wouldn't resign. And now we have this situation, obviously very disturbing allegations, and if true, then there's no place for him on the ticket.
And so the Washington Post has 4 on-the-record sources. And, to call it fake news, I mean, that would be extraordinary that you had 4 different people all lying about somebody. These are actually Republicans, that, the ones that were quoted, at least the one main one is. And so obviously it's disturbing. But I have to say this. So the state auditor of Alabama, the way that he tried to spin this is to say, take Joseph and Mary. Mary was a teenager. Joseph was an adult carpenter. They became parents of Jesus. Right. As Greg pointed out, actually, Jesus was Immaculate Conception.
I remember that
part. So this doesn't even make sense.
Yes.
And I think that if you are worried about speaking up about this because you might give political ammunition to your opposing side, that is weak and wrong.
Okay, Greg, what do you make of the situation, and give us a prediction?
Well, I mean, I will go on record and say that I'm against adult men hitting on 14-year-old girls.
All right. That's good.
Okay?
Good man.
Thank you for that. But it seems like it's raining bad men, to paraphrase that
Raining
classic song.
Weinsteins?
Yes, it seems like every hour there's another tawdry tale. And what's happening now may be a form of justice, but there seems to be missing a process. Like, what's next now? Does the guy just step down and go away? Or is there some kind of investigation? We seem to be missing.
Process, yeah.
There seems to be some kind of due process, but it also does seem to tell you that ideology often blinds you to the potential flaws and the background of somebody. Luther Strange seemed like a really good guy to me, but he wasn't as ideologically pure as Moore. Correct?
No, it depends on what are you looking
Trump.
for. Actually,
in terms of
think from a conservative ideology, Luther Strange was much more.
Yeah, but I'm talking in the
pure. In the new
ideology.
Of populism?
Yeah. In the new, we replaced one ideology with another.
Right.
Is what I'm saying.
You mean that he was more a Steve Bannon guy?
Right. And so that made you blind.
Luther Strange was much more a Mitch McConnell guy.
Exactly.
And now, and Bannon, in fact, just said yesterday, get McConnell out of here and all that. But this is Steve Bannon's guy.
Yeah, that's what my point is. When you choose an ideology, which is like, this is how it's going to be, you don't really do as much research as you should because you're blinded by your own biases.
Okay, so also, Jesse, you have McConnell speaking out, saying if these allegations are true, he must step aside. So you've already got division, in the party. How do you see this playing out, and how quickly?
I don't see how this plays out. It feels kind of gross talking about the political implications of this, because if these allegations are true, I feel horrible for these women. It's disgusting. Even just the allegation itself, it's not just one person, it's multiple people. So the whole cloud, the whole stench around this guy, I don't see how he can represent Alabama in the U.S. Senate. Politics is a dirty business, and innocent until proven guilty. But this doesn't seem like that to me.
Well,
I'm just not getting that feeling. So I think you should step down, do the decent thing. But, I mean, to your point about the politics of this, I shouldn't even say it, but I mean, the Democrats obviously are going to capitalize on it.
Well, Fox had it, and this is a little bit back, but I think Fox had the race about even. Some people have.
Just last week.
Yeah, okay. So some people, though, had more up a little bit. But the problem here is that that Roy Moore's base is the evangelical community. And I know, for people like me, I think, how do the evangelicals support Donald Trump? But how are they going to deal with this? Because this is rank hypocrisy.
I don't even think that's even within the realm. I mean,
No, grabbing women and stuff is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking.
But this is much more. Is that what your point is? That this is.
It's not the same. I mean,
Correct.
you're
I
talking
agree
about,
with you. But I'm saying for evangelicals, this is a real test. And Alabama in the Bible Belt, this is going to be a difficult issue.
I don't know where it goes. I guess, I'm assuming that the Washington Post will have a follow-up story. And if Roy Moore has evidence that this is indeed fake news, then he should come forward with it, all of it.
Yeah, usually when these stories, another story encourages other people to talk, and they'll be
right. Which is why it's raining bad men.
Yes.
Hate when it happens. Coming up, Greg exposes the truth about some race-related hoaxes. Coming up next. Stay with us.
Now on to some lighter news. A few months back, we ran a clip of a superintendent at the Air Force Academy chastising racist cadets. His speech came after slurs were found on a dorm room message board belonging to black students.
If you demean someone in any way, then you need to get out. And if you can't treat someone from another race or a different color skin with dignity and respect, then you need to get out. The power of that diversity comes together and makes us that much more powerful.
Well, like many in the media, we ran this clip because it provided a powerful response to racism that the media demanded after Charlottesville. While the clip ran, I kept shaking my head, for I'd seen this story before. The list of hate crime hoaxes is long. Now we must add this one to the tally. According to the Air Force Times, a black cadet admitted to writing the slurs, and he's since left the school. So what's the response when we see stories like these exposed as hoaxes? It's never as huge as the initial response was when we assumed that it was real, which only encourages more hoaxes. For the outrage over the crime is the only part the press seems to remember, not its debunking, which encourages the copycats, which is why we're doing this now, so people don't keep thinking this kind of thing pays off. Of course, social justice warriors will repeat the pathetic excuse that while this racist act may not be true here, you just know it's true somewhere else, which guarantees further opportunity for attention and likely another student's expulsion. I know it's crazy, but maybe it's time we stop feeding the stories to the public before they're properly investigated. Who am I kidding? All right, Juan, I think you owe me a steak dinner because I remember after we did this, I said to you, this isn't real.
You did say that.
You guys are making dinner bets on hate crimes?
Yes.
That's because we're so compassionate. And
yes, but I said after the at first my head was.
Shake your head, but you have this thing where you're just like.
I'm going. This is not true. This is not true. And then afterwards, I go, "What steak dinner? I'm betting."
But it's not. But the thing's not good for you.
It's not good for you. Yeah, I was going nuts.
I think we'll give you fish.
I don't eat fish. You know that. So what do you? When you see this, this obviously puts race relations back because it makes everybody suspicious of accusations now, right?
Sure, but I think the reason that you're doing this is though you think that this means that all allegations are somehow fraud. I don't
You're
think
using that
I'm asking
social
you.
justice.
I'm asking you.
No, I'm saying I told you so, Juan.
Well,
That's
you
why
did.
I'm doing
No,
it.
in this case, you told me so. And there are other cases because as you were speaking, as you were delivering the monologue, I think the viewers could see there's a list of people. But my feeling about this is, look, if you ever look at at the Twitter account for this show while I'm on, you'll know that there's some pretty harsh feelings.
Don't look at it, Juan.
That's what
Most of those, though, are from Kilmeade. So Kilmeade's got a lot of dummy accounts.
Yeah, now that Twitter's 280, it's really gotten
He's
bad.
spent a lot of time on it.
He's a terrible person. He gets up so early and then he just goes on after one. Kimberly, is there some kind of punishment? Is the punishment so? A lot of times when people do these fake hoaxes, they say they're under psychological stress, they need therapy. should there be stiffer penalties for this stuff?
I mean, you would think so, right? Because when you see kind of the cumulative effect and the collateral damage that results from things like this, it's really bad. Remember, hands up, don't shoot. It really stimulates in a very negative way, you know, racial divide and injustice and crimes that are committed against individuals, personal and property damage, really hurting communities. And it's so far along after, sometimes when you find out that this wasn't true, that if you didn't sort of search for it to follow up on it, you wouldn't know. And that's why I think you do a great job on this one thing, that you actually bring it up and you follow up and you track it down and say, remember this? When I was like, hey, this wasn't true.
Well, yeah, I knew it was going to happen. There was another hate crime that was exposed as a hoax. It was Dana, Kansas State student wrote slurs on his car. And it turned out it was the victim, a black male who had written the, and so, but would you hear the initial?
Did he have to leave the school?
I don't know. I didn't read that far.
Because
he wasn't in the school.
Well, when it comes to this person from the Air Force Academy,
Yeah, he's gone.
the punishment is that he just missed out on a wonderful educational opportunity.
Yeah.
And so,
Does he deserve a second chance?
No.
You don't think so?
No, I'm not. But I also think that this should not take away from what I think was a pretty amazing display of leadership on behalf of Jay Silveria, the lieutenant general, who addresses the students immediately, takes immediate action with a pretty powerful speech.
I don't know.
Why? Are you going to take away from that?
Yes.
Why?
I don't know. I just am. Because I knew it was fake. And I you know what? I
But
can't.
he didn't know it was fake, and he felt like he had to do something
Or was he trying to? Was he trying to cover his?
Are you questioning the lieutenant general?
I question everything. I question you right now, Dana. I don't even know who you are anymore. Jesse, thoughts?
Thoughts. Yeah, well, I think Kimberly's favorite poet, Shakespeare, said a lie travels halfway around the world before truth puts its shoes on.
I don't think Shakespeare said that.
Is that a hoax?
I think it was Jim Fix.
Okay.
I don't know.
Either way, this is what happens. And this guy researching this says there's hundreds of these per year. We just had one in New York where a Muslim woman said 3 white guys on the subway attacked me and tried to rip off my hijab.
She had to plead
ended up filing a fake police report. Now, the motivation for this is because people are struggling with personal problems. And they want to feel as the victim.
Important
And they want the attention that the victim and victimhood gets. And the victimology industry is an incubator for these fake hate crimes. And they're mostly on college campuses where you have these safe spaces, the microaggressions, and everybody hates a straight white male. So when these people get to college, their antennas go up and they're always looking for sexism and homophobia and racism. And then when nothing happens, they're forced to make them up.
Instead of being a victim, be a victor.
All right.
Huh? There's a T-shirt for you.
That was Shakespeare, too.
That was Shakespeare, too. Oh, was that? Maybe it was. I don't know. Maybe it was Shakespeare, but I don't think it was.
We'll
Don't
find
stare
out
at me
in the
like
commercial
that.
break.
All right. A new twist in the violent attack on Kentucky Senator Rand Paul next.